Hello everybody, welcome back to another episode from Whalejaw 3D. In episode 13, I think it's 13, we're going to near enough finish this car. We've basically got some knickknacks we need to chuck in that area there. We need to do the front end, the rear end exhaust, and there's a lot of junk in this side here. It's probably going to be, I'll time lapse most of it and then explain what I've done again. We've picked up a lot of pace since the beginning. In the beginning, I was going very slowly, very slowly, so if you just started, you could like get your head around it. It's kind of like the SAS doing a Blender project, like as in 10 men will enter and only 2 will leave at the end, you know what I mean? I'm not expecting everybody to learn how to do Blender, you know what I mean? I think I had a rage quitter last night. He spammed all my videos. He wasn't happy. But at the same time, I need to remind you, if you're going to comment how upset you are, just remember all you're doing is helping me. The algorithm doesn't care if you're not happy, you know what I mean? It just sees like, oh, this content's doing well, it's getting loads of comments, you know what I mean? So remember that when you rage quit. Just quit, just leave, walk away, you know what I mean? I understand. I'd imagine it got to those wings on that wing episode, and by God, they weren't difficult, but they basically broke my box. They were a difficult shape to do. And with this series, the idea is just to watch me do it, you know what I mean? Make a load of mistakes and then see how I fix those mistakes, because that's how you're doing it, aren't you? You're going in blind, you don't know what you're doing, and then you make loads of mistakes and you're like, oh, why is it broken? That's what I'm trying to do. This is like a guide on how to fix all your problems, you know? Whilst giving you a tool set to use to model anything, effectively. You don't need to model this car. The principles are the same, you know what I mean? The workflow. So to come in and say my videos are rubbish is just like, the statistics are saying otherwise, kidder, you know what I mean? It's probably just that you suck. It's the cold hard truth. So with that being said as well, YouTube doesn't take kindly to negative people, shall we say. Negative attitudes, like narcissistic, horrible attitudes. It auto pulls the comment anyway, you know what I mean? And then it'll like message you going, are you alright with this comment? You know what I mean? It basically asks us if, like, it'll flag it up and basically say, he's a bit of a dick, you know, do you want us to like remove him? And we get the option now to basically remove the comment, or it'll just stay hidden, you know what I mean? Because YouTube does not want negativity on YouTube. It likes controversy, so you know what I mean? If I have an idea and you contest it and you get really het up about it, but you feel like you're right, that's okay. But to just come and attack someone is not okay in YouTube's eyes. I don't mind. I will destroy you in any argument. Just for the sakes of winning, you know what I mean? I'm really good at a game of words. So, if you want to attack me, I'll probably just ignore it, because I'm just not about that life anymore. I used to be a builder, in particular a digger driver. If anybody ever upset me, I could just flatten them. You know what I mean? So don't mess with me. I'll get my digger and I'll come flatten you. But no, seriously, it's not easy, Blender. It can really, like, you'll pull your hair out doing it. You need to have that attitude of, I enjoy solving problems, you know what I mean? That feeling of like, yes! And you've done it, you know what I mean? I can't get that from gaming anymore. So if you get your kicks, say, from gaming, playing basic ass games, you know what I mean? Run to this point, press X, run to that point, press X, point at that, press shoot. You're never going to get far in life, you know what I mean? Because you're not actually challenging yourself. You're just occupying yourself. You're stimulating yourself, you know? This is why I like Blender now, because it's stimulating. It's always a puzzle. Like, how am I going to tackle this? And that's why it's fun for me. It's like games used to be like that back in the day. Every level was a puzzle. There's no puzzles in games anymore. So I've come to Blender, and sometimes I really do think I should be listing my videos in the gaming section. I list all my videos in the education section because I'm a big guy when it comes to learning. If I'm watching telly, I'm watching some history, I'm watching something how to do, I'm watching how stuff works, basically. If you ask me anything about a car or engines, I understand it. I went to college, I studied it, you know what I mean? And I wasn't happy, I kept going. I went to the diggers, I learned about diggers, I mastered construction, I got bored of that. I've moved on to now computers and 3D modeling, you know what I mean? Like designing things. For me, like animation and designing things, like make a product and then design a cool animation around it. That's my direction now. It's not gaming. Gaming does not satisfy me. It's just a cash cow now for kids. It's a means of occupying a child until he's 18 so you can kick him out and tell him to get a job, you know what I mean? Back in 80s, we used to be going around streets causing trouble, you know what I mean? Whereas now kids are basically, what's the word? Kids are kind of like a phone in sleep mode now, you know what I mean? Kids don't wake up till they're 18, until they have to, you know what I mean? Like, right, go and learn some cold hard truth. And then they'll change when they get to 27, they grow up, you know what I mean? They realise life's not about gaming, they start playing games, and they start, like, if you are a big gamer guy, you actually do something with it, you know what I mean? I've got a friend, he's not really a gamer, but loved gaming, and he's gone into, like, buying and selling games, you know what I mean? So, find yourself a path if you want to carry it on, that's fine, you know what I mean? But you can't just sit and play a game for the rest of your life. You really can't. You can have a couple hours a day on it, but you're still going to have to go to work. You're going to have to solve problems. Yeah, that rant has gone on forever, and it's tea break, so we ain't got much on today. Press record. So yeah, this series is not an educational how to click this button, click that button, you know what I mean? It's a community now. It's a place to come hang out and we'll watch other people do it, you know what I mean? I've said it before, if you wanted to be in a band, you've got to go and hang out with that band and jam for a few hours, you know what I mean? You can't just immediately make hits, you know what I mean? That's what this is. I'm not going to teach you mathematically and perfectly how to get a job, make a donut, you know what I mean, and do all this like industry perfect stuff. No, I'm going to teach you how to make a car, because we all want to make a car, you know what I mean? All of us are itching to make a car, and none of the big YouTubers want to embarrass themselves the way I have, you know what I mean? They've got a livelihood to look after. If they were seen making a mistake whilst doing what I'm doing right now, they'd get the sack, you know what I mean? So you really need to appreciate what I'm doing for you right now, you know what I mean? There's nobody else can do this. So I hope you enjoy it. I'm basically willing to sacrifice my soul for you by showing you my dirty laundry, you know what I mean? But you'll have a good time, because it's not about just learning exactly how to build a Batmobile. It's about how to have more fun in this community, you know what I mean? Come hang out, I'll show you a few tricks, you know what I mean? You go to the skate park, you see someone do a new trick, you're like, what? What's that called? You know what I mean? And then all of a sudden you have been illuminated. Yes? You can find out what that trick is, and then you can start to do that trick yourself. Christopher Columbus managed to invade America because of something called insight. When all the little Indians were stood on the beach and they saw a ship that they'd never seen before in their life, they were looking at it and they just thought nothing of it. Like, don't know what that is, let's crack on. And they carried on with the day. The next day the ship got closer. Like, yeah, whatever. Carried on. And then one day it landed on the beach and they were like, who the what? People can come from the sea? And then they got shot because they didn't have a clue. You know what I mean? They had no insight. Life is all about having insight. If you don't know it exists, you will never see it. Yes? That's what insight is. And that's why all the bad men in the world are able to control you, manipulate you, and ruin your lives, because you have no clue what they're doing. Yeah? Life lessons with old Digger Dave. Shall we do something? In a nutshell, yes, I'm shit. But I'm still better than you. I'm probably going to get slayed now with like all these top professional artists. I don't care. There's no jobs in this trade, so it's clearly a hobby now, you know what I mean? It's basically hobby craft now, this video. You know what I mean? Basically, all the young kids now will just be using AI to build a model anyway, because they're all lazy. Because they've been born and raised playing Lego games, you know what I mean? Like, shall we make a start then? Whew. Shall we start with something simple and fun? Shall we do this front end here today? I'm going to try and do that front end. I'll probably do that. That's a lot to do in one day, if I'm honest. I'm not going to do the wheels. There is already a video on how to make a wheel. I did make a how to make a tyre video, but my way is not very good, so I deleted that video. Because, like I said, I'm not that great. I'm just sharing. I like to think the videos that I've made are for my own personal use. So in, say, like a year, when I want to make another car, and I've forgotten how to do everything, I can just quickly reference. It's basically my notebook. YouTube is my notebook. If that video doesn't serve your purposes, it's tough titties, buddy, you know what I mean? It's not for you, it's for me. It's free online storage, but I like to dual purpose things, you know what I mean? Hybridise stuff. If I'm going to make one for myself, I may as well make one for everybody, you know what I mean? This car looks wicked. all I can look at, I don't know whether it's showing on the video, can you see these like wood lines that are coming down here? This is like a HDR issue. I basically don't have enough colour in my screen, so it's like, it's doing these hard lines that, and they drive me nuts, they do. I need to learn more about HDRs, and it's probably my monitor that's just crap. I need to like put 16 million colours on this one. Let's make a start. So the front, we've got options, because that, I don't even know what that is. It looks like it's probably stole it out of a watch or something. I'm not keen on this reference. It's helpful, but we're going to have to find some more reference, I think. Because you look at that, and it's really simple. I get to show you an array modifier with those. It's really simple. So should we try and make those two shapes there first? That one will be dead easy, alright. It's probably worth bringing this down as well. There's the burp. You know what I mean? A professional YouTuber wouldn't burp. You should have figured that out from the beginning, you know what I mean? We're hanging out. How's it going? How's life? So if we make a start, and we press Shift A, we need a cylinder. We definitely need that cylinder. We just pull it forward so we can see it. If we give it a rotate on the X, and a 90, come into our front, we know it's kind of 1/3 of the way in, isn't it? If we say that, you know what I mean? It's 1/3. So if we come in and make sure that we're going to edit mode, because if we scale now, look, can you see how all your scales changing? You have to, it ruins it basically. So we have to come in, undo it, and go into edit mode, and then it won't affect your scale. Yeah? Come down, and we kind of judge 1/3, which is there to there. We kind of need to be about there, don't we? So if we say that's about 1/3 there, yeah? What we need to do now is we need to like inset that middle, don't we? So if we give it some forward slash, we can now start to do something. I'm going to say, so I'm going to grab these two edges here, because we need to symmetrically do this, don't we? So if we put some alt, we need to inset this, and we need to make it reasonably thin, don't we? About that thin. Yeah. What we can do now is we can delete those faces. So if we delete those faces, put our 2s on, and we select each one of those loops, we should be able to now. If we click bridge edge loops there in our edge panel, it will fill in that area for us. It'll match it. You've got to have like matching geometry ideally to make that work. Yeah. So we've got a like cylindrical pipe. Yeah, that's the word. And if we look, we can see it's actually quite a lot thinner than that. You know what I mean? So we can now come in. How thin do we want it? It wants to be quite thin. So if we scale it back, it probably wants to be like that thick, really. Which is, yeah, that's enough, isn't it? And as we can see, it's kind of pushed it out. So if we just come in here like that, we can easily just put your 3s on, select that loop, scale the Y to a 0, and it'll like back end we don't really care about. So while we're it, might be worth chucking in those edge loops to define that shape. We know it's going to be quite a sharp shape, so if we put it on the edge like that, we switch to this view so we can see, and we bring it in like that, and we just define the inner and the outer. We basically got like a box section there, haven't we, for a bevel. We're probably going to need to do the same on the rear half as well, you know what I mean? So if we just quickly chuck those in as well, like that, we've made a cylinder. So if we come out, you might be asking yourself, wait a minute, is using a separate object to this car? Now, my plan is, I'll be printing these separately, you know what I mean? For the sakes of printing. It would be easy enough to integrate after the fact, but I really do believe like, this is a nice... It needs to be separate, this does, you know what I mean? That bit there needed to be all as one. And when it comes to animation, we can separate these later on. But the first port of call is 3D printing, and then we'll move on to rigging and animation. Yeah? I'm hoping to have this ready to print for Christmas, because I'm setting up like a little paint station activity thing for Christmas for me and the family, you know what I mean? I've got myself a whale jaw model, I want a Batmobile, and I've got something for the boy, you know what I mean? So, well, I feel like I want a couple of things, you know what I mean? So, there's my motivation. Mild detour taken care of. What we need to do now is obviously subdivide that, don't we? If you remember, you can just press Control and 3, and it puts us 3 levels of subdivision on here. Yeah, simple. And as we can see, all our loop cuts are taken care of. So if we now shade that smooth, we've made the first bit. Super simple. We need to now make that center bit, don't we? So it's probably going to be the same thing again. We'll add another cylinder like that. And what we can do this time is if we click this one, you can see the origin is in a crazy location on that. So what we're going to do is we're going to fix that. If we select all of this object, we can see like our cursor's gone to the middle, don't we? We need that origin to be in the middle of there as well. So if we press Shift S, if you remember episode 1 I taught you this, we can now put the cursor to this selected item so that when we back out and right click, we can set the origin to our 3D cursor. Yeah, super simple. Now, obviously when we rotate that, it's going to rotate around that. It was up there. Crazy location. Don't know why. It's whatever. But now we've set that, we can come across to our other cylinder here. We might have to start tidying up, but we can come across and click that cylinder, and now our 3D cursor's there. We can basically say, put that selection to that cursor, please. Yeah? So that when we rotate the X on the 90 and scale it down, it's going to be smack bang in the middle of that. Yeah? This is a very useful trick when it comes to rigging, so it's worth practicing that now. So when we come to rig, you're not going to cry, because rigging is difficult your first time round, I'll tell you that now. It's crazy. So looking at that, we kind of guessed that really well, didn't we? Look how well we guessed that. Probably be a little bit bigger, but I'm going to leave it. I feel like my eyes are better than this drawing. So we scale that one down. We've done it in object mode again, haven't we? You've got to keep an eye on this. And if you look now, our scale's only like 28% of what it actually was. So we need to make sure that we press Control and A and apply that scale. Causes no end of trouble. Say like you didn't do that and you came in here and you start doing a bevel. Your bevel will be like all kinds of wonky because it's like distorted, if that makes sense. It doesn't know what a true 90 is. So you have to always make sure you do that. So now, if we quickly look at our image, like we're going to the top for a length view, we can see that that kind of needs to come out to like there. Like the beginning of that contour is different, isn't it? So if we select that face there, we can confidently just drag it back there, can't we? We passed that point there. So if we bring it in line like that, probably worth doing the same for this one here. If we all keep them in line, so when it comes to printing them, you know what I mean? That's just one nice flat piece. What we need to do is select that face there, and we need to make that round, don't we? So how can we do that? If we come into this view here, or go in the other one, oh, so where's my drawing then? Can we see? We can't see that dimple, can we? That's interesting. That's interesting. On the top, it shows that this cylinder is not that far forward. That's what's going on. So if we pull that back like that, readjust our depth there, come into this one, we can see that nose really pokes out, you know what I mean? That's interesting. Well, yeah, it's starting to look right. So it's looking like our top view is going to be the one, isn't it? So if we select that face, what we effectively need to do, we can do it two ways. What we can do is extrude from there, like that, and then we can scale it down. Or you can do it the opposite way, where you inset it in and then move it out. Yeah? And we're just going to basically do that. I'm more of a insert and then pull it out kind of guy, personally. Like that. Insert, pull it out. Because I find I have issues with the scale all the time, you know what I mean? So insert it, pull it out, insert it, and just keep going till you've got that lovely round edge. Start refining it in. I feel like there's probably going to be a cool tool to like automatically do this for you. And at some point, we are going to have to just like fire those into the middle. I don't want to triangulate them, so shall we see how it looks? If we back out and we give it a Control 3, we can see she's a bit lumpy, isn't she? So is it worth grafting in a circle? Yeah. So whilst in edit mode, what we can do now is we can come in and we can chuck in. Do we want UV or we'll put UV in because it's probably what you've got, you know what I mean? Yeah? As we can see, we've got the nipple there. So shall we give it a rotate on the X90 like that to match it? And then if we bring it forward like that, we've got ourselves effectively that same shape, and we just need to scale it down a bit. Just get some scale, kind of match it, do the best job you can. It's basically there, isn't it? What we can do is basically just graph that into the, you know what I mean? So if we come into our square mode, select as ones, make sure you see through, and just remove half of those verts like that. Yeah, you've got yourself an easier way of doing it. I'm an artist, I like to go the long hard way about things, you know what I mean? What? Why can't I get a square onto that? There we go. Then obviously we do the same for this. Dissolve these vertices, come in. This is a much better way into it. And if we turn our merge vertices on up here, what we can do is just inch them in and eventually they'll click in, you know what I mean? So if we like that, oh, and they've just merged in. Bosh. That's how you do it. Obviously, we've got subdivision on there, so we need to tidy that rear end up. Bring that in there. Does it make sense now how these episodes are working? It's like, I'll show you how it goes wrong when you're trying to do it and how to then solve it, you know what I mean? And do it better. It's a far better way of learning than just having someone drill sergeant you think. Like, I could never learn at school reading from a textbook. I had to do it by experience and just get stuck in, you know what I mean? If we chuck one in there as well, just to guarantee that that's safe there, you know what I mean? We've basically made ourselves what looks like a bullet. And you can see we've got some shading issues on that nipple there, can't we? This is what I was kind of like a bit wary of, you know what I mean? We've got that pimple there. So it's got the data we need on it. So if we give it a control R, it's not going to let us, you see, because of that. So a cheaty way of doing it is this. Give it a control B. Just don't go too far so you don't ruin your data like that. So that we can then select this one and give her some JJ, lads. And what we need to do is... Oh, we've still got auto merge on. You must always remember to turn that off, honestly. It can destroy your model if you're not careful and don't notice. So now we've done that, we might be able to now pinch that one and dissolve it. We've still got that issue. We basically need to make a round cube, yeah? And how do we do that? We've basically got to solve it, don't we? So you come in, we'll do the easy ones. How many we got now? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7. So we've got 7 in there. If we start just pizzaing them off, you know what I mean, into 4s. Like that. Oh my gosh, why is that one? Are we not square on? We're not square on, are we? So if we just square off, we come in here. And it's basically, it works out. Apart from that. What? So if we press enter on them, then we do it again. Yeah, that should line up. Yeah, and we basically made 4s, haven't we? Like, segments of 4s. So if we press enter now, that hopefully has solved our issue. If we back out, it has not. So if we shade smooth, we can still see we've got this little pinching issue, haven't we? It's definitely just in that middle there. It's not a good solve. So if we dissolve those edges, and we come out, this is why UV spheres, nobody likes a UV sphere. Shall we try again, but we're going to use this time a rounded, something called rounded cube, and it's probably a good lesson for you as well. So if we give it a Shift A, and we come into our objects, you've probably just got these here. I've got some extra ones. Single vert, a round cube, and torus objects. We want a round cube. If you don't have a round cube, it's called extra objects. If you go into your preferences, can you remember your add-ons here, and you go to the Blender website, add-ons website, and just drag and drop it in. If we come in here, we put extra objects or extra mesh objects. It's this one here. You just need to install it and you'll get something called a round cube. And what a round cube does is it has like presets on it. It's pretty cool. A quad sphere. That's the one I was looking for, a quad sphere. We basically need to chop that one in half now and hope and pray we've got the same amount of vertices on that thing, yeah? So with that object, it's come in as a separate one, hasn't it? So if we just scale it down round about and then apply that scale, oh my god, and apply that scale, we can then click that other object and press Ctrl and G so that they join together, can't we? So that when we come in tab mode, we can just move, undo, we can then individually select with the letter L, like that, and then we can just move it forward. Yeah, I'm unsure on whether the vertices are going to be the same amount, but we're just going to wing it and hope and pray. So if we remove those vertices there, like that, we've got the same thing, but we've got like a quadrad sphere, I think is the term. Awesome. So this is our third attempt and the third way around of doing it. If you've watched me do it, it basically means you don't have to do this practicing, you know what I mean? Or finding the best thing. So if we select that one, give it some Control plus, like that, we can then, this is why it's good to have that vertex in there. We might remove that one and delete those vertices. We've got to do the same again, glue these in. My computer's making some funny noises, it might be worth giving it a service. It's looking very hagnar, like inside, it's quite dusty. So it might be time to sort them out. We can see it's just slightly off, isn't it? But we're 3D modelers. So we're going to try as auto merge. This should be fun because they're not like really spot on, are they? Let's see if it can help us. So if we bring it in here, it's grabbed some of them, hasn't it? Yeah? So what we may be able to do is come around and grab that loop. No, we're not going to be able to do that one. We could do merge by distance, but I don't trust it. We can because I'm going to show you. Merge by distance. If we come in here. So to use merge vertices, we need to select the ones we want to work with, don't we? And if we press M and merge by distance, we need to turn it all the way down to the bottom like that. And basically keep ticking it up. 42, oh my god, that's too much. We're in inches at the minute. So I'm going to quickly change that. I'll put it in millimeters, so it actually makes sense to me. Give it a merge by distance. There we go. We've got a real number now that we can increase by 10 mil instead of what felt like a yardstick. You know what I mean? Just inches are stupid. Stop using them. What we have now is like, it's kind of twisted, but it should be okay. If we're back out, we can look at it now and we can see it's a world bit. If we get a shade smooth, that was interesting. That wasn't shaded smooth, but that was. So that can happen. As we can see now, we've got the perfect looking knob. Yeah? Awesome. How long have we been going? 40 minutes. Alrighty. Probably half an hour. We're all in the centre. Making progress. That was like the slowest thing. We can see it's probably a bit pointier, isn't it? But if I go to the top, I bet I'll miss the illustrations about. What we need to do next is create these little poles, don't we? And then we've got to do the fins as well. Those fins are going to be interesting, but they're going to require the same technique for both of them. I'm going to show you something called an array modifier. We're actually learning things now, finally. That body took 10 episodes. It was grueling. I can finally now actually teach you things. Awesome. So then, we've got our 3D cursor in the middle, haven't we? What we need to do is, I'm going to go for this triple one here. We need to create, it looks like a flat bar. I don't know. I feel like it would be like a piece of a bar, so I'm going to go for a cylinder. Yeah, we definitely need one going straight up, so we can leave it like that. We could probably knock the verts down on this one, because it's going to be a lot smaller. So should we try 16? That might be enough. Heck, even 8 might be enough. No. Keep it at 16. I like to use the numbers of game consoles, you know what I mean? Like 8, 16, 32, 128. It's just a number that was ingrained in me from a child, you know what I mean? So if we scale it down, and then scale the Z, you know what I mean? Just to keep kind of that shape we want. Probably come into our front view. If you remember, we're scaling now in object mode, so always be aware of that. That took me a while to like get used to that fact, you know what I mean? If we apply the scale, we come in. We know that object needs to basically be welded into that, don't we? So that little tush into it there is perfect. We're going to go halfway in. Because with 3D printing, if that was, say, like all the way down there, it'd try and print that. And then you'd have, like, you can't be doing that. We need to keep within, like, a boundary so that it'll key in. It's okay if it comes out, like, a few mil, but you need it to be kind of sock on, you know what I mean? Now we've got this object. We can probably back out and have a look at it. We can see, if we get a shade smooth, it's actually not bad, is it, really? We probably need some loops in just to stop that stretching. What I mean by stretching, can you see the black there? You can see how it's like black there, white at the top. It's stretching, effectively. So if we just chuck in loop cuts, obviously like that, so we can control a model. And then if we do want to chuck a subdivision on later on, we can, can't we? So same for the top. We don't really need to care about the tops because they're tushed in, aren't they? We just need to make sure that our UV map, basically, is it UV? Your texture map is clean, you know what I mean? We don't want stretched. Now, what we need to do with that object is, we could use an array modifier. I should use an array modifier because we're going to get like an exact measure. In fact, it's something that's going to come in. It's actually perfect, this is. This array modifier is going to be useful for doing this and your wheels. So I'm basically teaching you how to do a wheel at the same time. Yeah? You know what I mean? It's the same principle. So what we need to do now we've got that, effectively, is add a new object. We need an empty. Where is it? Empty. I like to call them handles. I'm even going to try a single arrow. I've never used them before. If we go to our object, can we make it more obvious? Objects. Visibility. There we go. We've got an arrow. There it is. Look, yeah, can you see it? She's a big old arrow. I feel like I'm going to turn them drawings off because those drawings, they're burning my eyes out. There we go. Oh, so much better. I need that reference one on. I've just not that one off. Oh, dreamy. There we go. So we've got ourselves something called an empty. You can call them handles. An empty. What is an empty? It's exactly what it says it is. It's like if we put a cube in, it's the same as it, but it has no vertices in it, effectively, you know what I mean? It's useful when we need to, say, copy some data. We need to say, like, go to that point there, and it'll be like, where do you want me to go? So you put an empty there, basically saying, here, you know what I mean? It's like a flag, it's a handle, it can be many things, but it's an empty. If you've never seen an empty, you need to get into empties. They're very useful. So now we have an empty. What's next? we need to now go back onto that object there. Yeah? What we need to do is we're probably going to have to do some maths soon as well. If we now generate an array modifier like this, yeah? Come up here. What do we have? It's made us an extra one there, hasn't it? Can you see it? That one there. If we knock it up, you can make more, can't you? We know we need 3. We need 3 of them, don't we? And we want them to go up there and there. Can we do the maths on... We can. It's 120 degrees. Oh my god, that was like the easiest math I've ever had to do. 360 degrees divided by 3, 120. We basically need to rotate that array 120 degrees, don't we? How can we do that? Well, if we use something called an object offset, as in our empty, that's got no verts in it, yeah, we can come in and select that empty. If we just check, look, empty, we can now rotate around that point. But the issue we're having here is we've got this turned on here. Can you see? If we didn't have this on, we'd usually be using this, wouldn't we? That confused me for a second. And that's how, like, you spread them out in whatever direction we want. Because we're not using this, we're going to use that empty as a handle. We need to 0 that off. We could even turn it off. What we want is our object offset, don't we? Why has it gone crazy now? Right then, I think what the issue might have been was we needed to apply the transforms, but now our view's all screwy. What we need to do is set our origin to the 3D cursor, I think. I think that's what's going off. We need to basically say, that's the center point of that object. Yeah? I think that's what the issue is if we do that. Alright. So come back to there. Basically, now we've linked in our empty object, what we can do now, if we test it and rotate the Y, we should be able to, like this, look, move it all the way around. They are very confusing arrays. Like, I don't know whether I've just showed you them, but like it was a bit confusing. So I probably should just quickly fire over it again. So you want your object to have an array. You need to turn off this relative one, and you need to turn on your object offset. You need to then select the empty, and all should be well. If it's not well, if you saw me then, they're all of it shop, you need to make sure you turn off these here, yeah? And then after the fact, because our origin wasn't in the center of where we want here to turn it, yeah, it was like creating a weird like offset. It's always something to be aware of, and this is why I'm preaching applying scales all the time, yeah? So what, it made sense, didn't it? Yeah, we'd faffed around, we'd not applied our scale, and it had affected things, you know what I mean? Always apply scale. So once we've finally done that then, you can basically come on that one and press rotate 120 degrees, and it will find you that center point, yeah? We basically made that. We need to do the same thing now with the fins. It's the same way you make wheels as well. Don't worry if it gets confusing, you know what I mean? Now, if we see, we can't move those things now, can we? Because it goes all kinds of screwy. So once we've done it, it's going to be worth just applying it. It's not difficult to remake it, is it? You know what I mean? We can come in, we can delete that as well. We don't need it. Even though if we reset the rotation, because we're probably going to want it again, aren't we, to do these fins in here? Yeah? So should we try and do a nice clean attempt on it? You know what I mean? These were clearly at the front one. They were like there, like a little pigeon guard or whatever it is. Probably what they were, pigeon guards, weren't they? So we need to do the same now for this fan here. We've got to try and figure out how many fins there is as well. So if we just do a half, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9. We've got an 18 fin blade. It's going to be really simple to make that. We can just give it a shift A, a mesh, a cube, and we basically just need a really thin object, don't we? So what is 8 gauge? I think it's 0.8 mil a piece of steel. So should we try it? 0.8 mil. That should be the size of one of those fins, realistically. Now, 3D printing that is going to be an absolute head case, you know what I mean? So what's 3 mil look like? 3 mil is a lot more acceptable, I say. But then still, this is 3 mil on a real world size car, so we've got to think about this, you know what I mean? I'm going to even knock her up to 6. It needs to be chunky, I'd say. You can refine it for your purposes, but my initial is to make it quite chunky. Because I've found that if you do really thin things, they can be really delicate, you know what I mean? So I might as well just do it manually now I've started on this. So we'll come in, find it, send her up, readjust that line to like 6. Then if we come in here, we can scale the X, make it a bit thinner, can't we? As we can see, it's probably thicker than it needs to be, but I'm happy with it. Is there a curve on it? It's a flat blade. God bless the 80s and 90s. A modern blade would be twisted and curvy. We don't have to deal with that. What we need to do is now matched into our thing, don't we? It needs to be just right like that. I feel like we could probably scale the X a little bit more because we've got to get 18 of these puppies in, haven't we? Now, can anybody do the maths on 360 divided by 18? Because I'm never going to be able to do that one. They're also tilted in an anti-clockwise direction. So if we just give it some... What's the perfect angle for induction? I'm going to say 45, you know what I mean, the middle ground. So if we undo that, rotate the Z 45, but we did it wrong because it's facing the wrong way. Rotate the Z 45 on a minus, go the other way. We've kind of got our fin, haven't we? What we need to do, if you remember, is now apply our... Come out. Look, can you see how our scale's all screwy? That's why our array went wrong last time. So we need to make sure we apply all the transforms. If you've noticed now, because we applied everything, it sent the origin back to the world origin. Yeah, that's not good enough. What we need to do now is come in, right click, and set the origin to our 3D cursor, which is at the center of this, remember? Yeah? So now we can come in, add a modifier. Where is it? Array. It's the top one, you absolute mong. And we need 18, don't we? So if we bang in 18 fans there. We need to turn off the relative offset, and we need an object offset. Yeah, and if we click our empty like that, we can see it's working swimmingly this time, can't we? So if we now click on our object, we've got to do that math, haven't we? So let me just figure that out. 360 divided by 18 equals 20 degrees. Lovely. Not so great on those. So if we rotate the Y 20 degrees, we have made ourselves a turbo fan. Yeehaw! And effectively, this section is done. I think we just need some shading. Do we even need shading on that? I don't think we do. We really don't, do we? It's bob on. We probably want some bevel on it, I'd say. So now we've got that on, it might be worth showing you a bevel modifier. We're getting through some lessons here today, kids. What I always like to do is just whack it all the way down to 0 and then come up. See what the first one is. I would like... It's 6mm thick in it, so it can't be more than 2mm. So if we get a 2mm bevel, it's probably still too much. So if we give it 3 bevels, you know what I mean? We've got ourselves like kind of like a nice... Is it worth putting 2 on? Is it almost 2 round? You know what I mean? We've got ourselves like a stepped object. I don't know whether I like that. I'm going to put it on a 3. Is it worth knocking it down to 1? Yeah, it is. That's the one. We could probably have 2 now then, can't we? Bosh, like that. And you've kind of got yourself, like, nicely shaded objects, you know what I mean? So if we come into our shader view, we can start looking at it, can't we? One of the episodes where I showed you how to use the shaders as well, I lost it, basically. So I'm going to give you a quick overview on making a shader as well now. Because we haven't really got any. If you look here, you can see what your existing shaders are. I've got Batman Black spelled autistically. I've got... like black, what I've been using for in the grills and stuff, you know what I mean? I ain't use it on that bit, but where did I use it? Bit right here, I think. Yeah, can you see in there, look? Just a different colour to help separate it. And that's all I've done so far. Pretty basic. I did the glass as well. If I show you over the glass, whether... because I don't know whether you've made it before, but glass is basically, it's a normal shader, but you come down to your transmission and you whack it all the way up. It makes glass. You can also come in here and use... glass BSDF as well, but for now I just wanted to you know what I mean? That's how you make glass. What we need to do now is make that metal, don't we? So we turn the junk off. We need to make a new material, I'd say. So if we just unselect that one, what we need to do is click here, a new material. We need to name it. It's going to be chrome, I'd say. Let's show you chrome. Always name your material because it gets mental. I like to actually go like Batmobile and then underscore like this so that you can find exactly which ones are which. I'll show you why in the future. So what we can do is we can come in, you can see a preview, can't you? We don't need that, we've got it over here. So if you open surface, I don't know why it was closed. What we need to do is make a metal, don't we? So it's going to be metallic. Yeah, it's going to have the reflective factors of metallic. It immediately looks like metal. What we also need to do is decide on how shiny we want it. Do we want proper chrome, whereas like full chrome is never like true 0, it's like there, you know what I mean, like between 100 and 200. I think it's probably going to be like 130 or something. That's like chrome. That's realistic chrome. Is it that what we want? If you look at a reference, it's kind of chrome, but it's also like a dull chrome, yeah? Like it's seen some action. His looks loads pointier than mine, but it's whatever. So we're going to knock the roughness up and make it a bit duller. It was kind of round about there, wasn't it? Yeah, I'd say that's similar. We basically made our chrome material. It might be worth just knocking down the grey a little bit, you know what I mean? So if you have blacks down there, middles there, aluminium's probably like there, you know what I mean? It's probably going to be aluminium. It needs to be light, doesn't it? So we've made an aluminium material. It's that simple, really. You can put a coat on it if you want, like some, you know, like paint it with some lacquer with that one. With satin, you got your sheen. I've showed you sheen. So now we've done that, we can safely say that one needs to be the same colour, doesn't it? So we can come in our drop down menu now and we can see Batmobile Chrome. Alright, yeah, there we go. It's applied it. Lovely jubbly. Now, if we look up at this, we can see that this is the same colour as the Batmobile. So we can come in, choose our Batman Black, quickly make it look less embarrassing and call it Batmobile Black. Yeah, same colour. Those inner fins, they seem to be their own colour. They look like plastic, if I'm honest. I feel like they should be the same colour as the chrome, but they just don't look the same colour. Shall we try the other picture? Yeah, that one's kind of all weird. It does feel like they've got a pointy one. It is what it is, I don't care. So, I'm going to say those fins. Shall we try them in the chrome? Because when you're painting it, you're likely just going to paint it, aren't you? All one colour. They're going to be stuck to that middle bit. So now we've done that. I don't know. They need to be a different colour, don't they? I think they need to be a different colour. So for remove it, make a new one. They're kind of like yellowy tinged. They're going to want to be metallic, I'm sure. Like that. We're going to want to bring that shine down. I'm not really keen on those fins. They almost look too basic, don't they? Shall we put some Eevee on? There we go. Oh, baby. Oh, I'm happy with them. Yeah, they kind of got like a yellow, which is kind of like a really nice transition. Oof. Do we want that in that colour as well? This is the best bit, in my opinion. No, it's too much chrome. Too much goldy. Put that back in chrome. I do like that effect, though. How it kind of like, it's yellow on the inside, and then it creates... Ooh, I do like that. I'm going to say that bit's complete. I think we need some junk in there. Like these bits here. These, obviously. We've got to do like another triad system to connect that to the rest of the car, which is absolutely fine. So if we come back in this view, get some shift A, we need stick to the cubes, you know what I mean? Scale it down. That's what big lad. Scale the Y. If you're struggling moving, it's because you're too close to the center of it, you know what I mean? What's that in millimeters? We'll keep it at 10 mil, so like so. Where are we? That one needs to be on the bottom. So if we apply everything, undo, we'll just apply the scale for now, so it keeps our origin. Then we come in here, then we can actually scale it down, send it down here. It's kind of in the correct Y location. We just need to keep scaling. Probably about that big, in it. Put a see-through on, like that. Stretch that down there like that. Yeah. We need to obviously come out. You don't need to come out. If you select them all, we'll come to item. Yeah, you do. Come out. I want to guarantee that that's chunky. So I'm just going to put my 10 mil back in, you know what I mean? That's more for my 3D printing, guaranteeing I got some chunk. What we're going to do, make sure it's in the center. We've basically got to do that array modifier thing again, haven't we? So if we come in and reset our rotations on our handle like that, if you can see, it's affected our fins. So what we need to do is come in and we need to apply that array, don't we? It's easy enough to reset, it's not a problem, you know what I mean, if you need to, but it's pretty much set in stone. So if we zero that off again, we can basically do the same, can't we? Make sure that our origin is there. That's perfect. So we should be good to go. Generate an array. This is like the third time showing you now. You should be good at it. We know we need 3, don't we? We don't want relative. We want object. Come in. Select our empty. And it was 120 degrees, wasn't it? So we select this. Rotate the Y. 120. Like that. Boom. Jobs are good. It's really simple. That's how you make wheels. And we can see it's not actually digging into that part there, can't we? So that's an issue. What we need to do now is come into it, just adjust our model to suit, you know what I mean? If we pull it down a little bit like that, check. Pull it down, we can see we've tucked in. If we look here, we're going to have this when we 3D print, but it's not a problem, you know what I mean? That little bit's not a problem, really. We could accommodate it if we wanted after the fact. What we can see here as well is it needs to get pushed back a little bit, doesn't it? So if we're back out and we apply that array, we can probably safely say we don't need that now, don't we? Zero it off. I'm going to leave it in. It might come in handy one day. But we can turn it off, basically, can't we? We need to touch these back so that they're in, like this. And I can tell you now, we've got a 10mm one there, but those two aren't 10mm. What? There's always issues, so if we come back here, and we've still got our array on, haven't we? What we need to might do is set all the transforms and set the origin to 3D cursor. There we go, look, we've got chunky ones now. Because we've not applied our transformation, you know, that 10mm that did. It's good to be showing you these things, you know what I mean? So, we can now come in, apply that, watch them back, like that. Yeah, and that's going to hold in your little thing. Because they're painted black, they're just reflecting in that picture. So yeah, this would probably be like, we'd print this chrome bit separate, you know what I mean? That'll just like click in there. That's interesting actually, which means we don't need those items to be tushing into there, do we? So can we just cheekily scale them in like that? Yes, we can. Same with these ones, scale them in. You know what I mean? Like if we was to build that 3D model, we're going to need to slip this section in and out, I think. Because that's like all one chrome, and it'd be nice to print that separately. And then this here would just like be part, this can be part of this model here, you know what I mean? We'll integrate it. Or we don't even need to be honest. We don't need to. Yeah, we can come in now with these ones and we can fine tune them, I suppose, can't we? So if we get some of this, and using our L tool, we can individually select them. What we can do here is like square ourselves off the best we can. Might be worth printing in orthographic. There you go, and then you can like get exactly square on. We can kind of match the intake's rotation, can't we, by doing that there. Yeah? It's probably going to look a lot more easy on the eyes. It does, doesn't it? But we kind of went too much with it. So we press undo and we try again. We need to kind of, that's it, marry our front end in there like that. Or not. Let's just give it a try. Rotate it that much. Is that too much? A little bit more. Because it's a funny angle. I feel like that's a lot better, isn't it? Where is it? Is that kind of how it is? Here's a twisted the other way. Probably would look better the other way as well. Executive decisions, eh? So if we rotate it that way, it kind of looks better for airflow that way as well. Right. Yeah, I like it like that. We're doing it like that. So select L on this one. Remember, we were doing this in orthographic so that we can like square our image off a lot better. If we try it that way, is that the correct way? And that's why like it might not look right initially. But we've kind of got a good one. I'd imagine that would be like long ways, wouldn't it? Don't know. I'm unclear which bit spins. I'm assuming this... Nothing can spin on this object. It can't spin. There's got to be a separation point there, and it's like connected to a bearing. That's interesting. We need like a bevel, don't we? I'm going to make that aesthetically pleasing first. I feel like this one here needs to be rotated 90. Rotate 90 on the Z. I feel like it's going to look a lot nicer like that, you know what I mean? What we could do is add a bevel to this object as well, can't we? Make sure your scale's set before you do the bevel. We know it wants to be 1mm, and probably want a mitre on it, don't we? And it'll just make it nicer. Yeah, we need to put some shading on it. I'm going to say it's Batman Black, isn't it? Or Batman, yeah, Batmobile Black. If we come out and have a look, turn our orthographic off, we've basically got a big old torpedo, lad. Do I want to send that back a bit? I feel like it pokes out too much. It needs to be like that, I think. What happens if we scale the Y? Will it make it pointier? It will! If you scale the Y, you can make it pointier, and then we can just like nudge it in. What's the real location? I'm going to say it's about there. Come on, correct. Right there. We'll sort that at a later time for 3D printing, you know what I mean, like make it perfect, but pretty impressed with that. We've made it pointy. The pointier makes it loads more slipstream, right? So, I feel like we've effectively done it, haven't we? It just might be worth creating some depth, I think. So it don't feel deep enough. If we come in here, just select those ones. Just knock it back a bit. You know what I mean? So at least there. We can kind of put a bit more depth into it, you know what I mean? Because it's like, it felt weird that I could see behind it, you know what I mean? So, if we stretch those, it should like kind of correct it as well, shouldn't it? There you go, so when we're looking like at this angle, even though it's like pitch black in the back, you know what I mean, it kind of has like, it actually looks like an engine now, rather than just like a fan. Yeah, we've done the front end. How long have we been going? Hour 15. That's a good chunk. I feel like I'll end it there because there's not really any time lapse in that, what they say. That was a good education on what have we learned. We've learned empties on how you can use them. We've learnt about arrays, how you can use those. They are super useful. You use them a lot when you're building wheels, you know what I mean? You build one spoke and then you just array it around. That's effectively all there is to building wheels. And we've used a bevel modifier after always making our own bevels. Quite a useful episode, this one. So don't forget, press the like button. If you get stuck, don't ask me because I don't really care. You know what I mean? If you're not figuring it out from this video, just watch it again, you know what I mean? Or find a different video. There's loads of videos out there. There's no need for me answering your questions in the comment, you know what I mean? This is just hanging out. If you're stuck, obviously, like, ask. But pretty much anything can be answered with AI nowadays, you know what I mean? Or Google. It's just the workflows you want to know, you know what I mean? This is what's insightful about this, like, how does he tackle this, you know what I mean? Has he got any little tricks I ain't seen yet? Otherwise, I'll say in a bit. Cheers, people. Bye-bye.